Onepiece works here. Whoa, boy, I called everything. I called everything, bro. I cannot believe it. Okay, so back again with One Piece, chapter 1110, titled Planetfall. And we have our cover story, boys. And I called this not once, not twice, but like 3 different times on 3 different occasions. We have the cover story. Oni Child Yamato and the Holy Inari Shrine Pilgrimage, Volume 2. I'm going to travel all over Wano, just like Odin. We have our Yamato cover story, boys. Oh, man, I called it. You can't tell me that I didn't call it. I called this like 3 different times, bro. I cannot believe it's happening. So we have Yamato talking to Momonosuke, probably declaring like, yeah, she's going to travel around Wano like Odin did. So, man, oh, man, oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. Oh, man, baby. Okay, so, okay. So, I'm thinking on this pilgrimage, much like with Odin, she'll probably pick up followers before she eventually leaves to go join up with Luffy. Also, by the way, I did a poll for the next One Design episode, and she did win that poll, so that video is coming. We kind of got a little sidetracked because I wanted to do a tribute to Mr. Toriyama, RIP. But yeah, I think she's going to pick up people as she's going along this pilgrimage. And I think 2 of the people that she's going to pick up, which was mentioned in a comment someone left me a while ago. I think I mentioned it in a video and then someone added on to that. I can't remember if I said it first or they said it, but either way, shout out to them. You know who you are. But I think she's going to pick up Ulti and Page 1, seeing as how those 2 are the closest to her in age and kind of have the same backstory as her, because they too stole their fruits from Kaido, and that's why they have their powers now. Another person that didn't get a lot of screen time, but was our introduction to the concept of a character having a billion-berry bounty who might join Yamato as well, is Jack, because Jack the Drought is also 28. Which is super weird when you think about it. But yeah, he did get the amount of coverage. Despite being the first one introduced, he didn't get the amount of coverage or lore implications that King and Queen got. They got oodles upon oodles of lore. Queen and his whole relationship to Judge and copying Judge's work. And then, you know, with King being a Lunarian. So much lore with those 2. Jack got nothing other than being a fishman and seeing the wano that's underneath the ocean, which is important because that's how we kind of opened up this whole thing. Onigashima being underwater with the remnants of old Wano. So, I mean, he is kind of relevant since we opened the cover story with that back in 1109. So, I think he could be joining Yamato. Maybe he'll be her equivalent, Ashura Doji. Ashura Doji was the guy with the pink hair that cut Jack. I think both in the anime and the manga. So, seeing as how Odin had to defeat Ashura Doji because I believe he was the Don of some district in Wano, what could happen, especially seeing as how we don't see Jack being terrorized by Green Bull in the Udon prison, seeing as how we don't see him there, he's probably off on his own doing something, and then Yamato will come across him, beat him up, and then he'll like swear loyalty to her or something. Or he could just go willingly. That's the thing too, seeing as how she is the daughter of Kaido. I don't know. We'll have to find out. But yeah, I think it's going to be Yamato, Jack, Ulti, and Page 1. Don't know who else will join her merry band of scabbards. But I think, or I don't know, of Onis, of monsters. Jack is a fishman. Ulti is most likely an Oni, like Yamato. And Page 1 is most likely an Oni, like Yamato as well. So we'll have to see how that all pans out, because they did have a fishman, but they also had 2 minks. Now, on the mink topic, I could see if Carrot is a stowaway on the Sunny right now, what could have happened is that she's still in Wano and she's about to leave for Zou, and Yamato picks her up. That's a possibility. I'm just going to put that out there. That's a possibility. Because I think they could come together and join the crew as a package deal. I think that's a possibility. I strongly think that. Because that's what happened with Odin twice. Both on Whitebeard and Roger's crew. Because if you recall, Whitebeard inducted both Odin along with Nekomamushi and Inugarashi all at the same time, and Inugarashi and Nekomamushi were always apprentices, which I guess if Bonnie joins too, I could see Bonnie and Carrot both being apprentices if everything I said does pan out. We don't know, but yeah, I could see in Yamato's merry band of freaks, we have herself, we have her sister Ulti, her brother Page One, I guess her former underling, kind of, and Jack. Or maybe we'll get Jack's real name, too, because Jack was most likely a title, like King and Queen were. Because, King's name was actually Albert, so Jack most likely has a name, which will be some nice character development for him. I would like that. So, yeah, Yamato, Ulti, Page One, Jack, and most likely Carrot. I can see it. I think it's very possible. And then maybe two, all this journey, because this is a video I did way back in the day, but maybe on this journey, Carrot will find Kanjuro's dough fruit, and maybe she'll eat that. Because I had said that a long time ago, that she'll get the brush fruit. So I could see it being on Wano. I could see the brush fruit reincarnating on Wano, because for all intents and purposes, Kanjuro is dead. So yeah, I can see that. I can see her getting the dough fruit in this cover story. That'd be kind of sick. But yeah, moving on. Speaking about videos I made, okay? We get the reveal of all the Zoan forms of all the 5 elders, along with what the monsters are called, right? So, important things to know. Out of all of them, Jupiter's the only one who's not some sort of Asian yokai or Asian monster, right? He is a sandworm. Now, because of recency bias, everybody's pointing to Dune as a reference for this sandworm, though sandworms do appear in a lot of other media like D&D and such, right? Another piece of media that I think this sandworm might actually be inspired from is Beetlejuice, because in Beetlejuice, sandworms are like this big dangerous monster that exists both in the movie and in the cartoon, and Beetlejuice is deathly afraid of them. What's also very interesting about the sandworms in Beetlejuice is that in the movie they are said to be from Saturn, which is funny seeing as how there's a guy literally named Saturn in this organization, right, with Jupiter. So that's a thing. Another thing, these sandworms in Beetlejuice kind of had like these two faces. They had like this overcoat, and then that overcoat's mouth would open up to reveal the real head inside. That seems to be what Jupiter's sandworm is doing, because in the first shot, we see he has like this weird, like roundish face. But however, when he goes up to eat Luffy, he actually has these big lips and these big teeth. Right? So that's something to point out. So what I'm saying is he has a protective shield for digging, but then when he's getting ready to eat something, that shield like opens up, kind of like some sort of pupa or something. It splits open, and then out comes his actual head, much like the sandworm. So it's a protective digging coat, and then underneath is the real face. That's what I'm thinking. Now, I call this, brother. We're skipping around. I called this. I made a short say that Nusjuro will be Agasha Dokuro, because Agasha Dokuro is a yokai that is a giant hungry skeleton that just eats the heads of humans. However, the reason why I went to that first is because Brook is called Agasha Dokuro by Black Maria during the Wano arc. Little did I know how close I would be in calling what Nusjuro's devil fruit is. So Nusjuro is a Bakotsu, which is this sick giant skeletal horse. What is so interesting is that it is a bone horse. It is a skeletal horse, but it is suggested that as Nusjuro is cutting down the various pacifistas, that he has cryokinesis abilities, like Brook. So he's just like Brook in horse form. What makes this go even deeper now? Even deeper. Do you know Brook's animal likeness. Brook's animal likeness is the horse. Bruh, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. No one I know on YouTube, period, or TikTok for that matter, has called it. That's amazing. Now, on the topic of the 5 elders, okay? One thing to point out, and I want to say Ghost on TikTok pointed this out, but he was talking about the rings, which I just to point out, it's funny that Saturn makes the rings because his name is Saturn. The planet Saturn is known for its rings. So I just found that funny. Also, I think the whole ring creation that Saturn does, which is being heavily applied here, seeing as how he has to summon the other 4 elders, that's an ability only he has. So that means that his ability, most likely, even though it's a Guki or an Uchioni, they're the same thing. A Guki is an Uchioni. So everyone who said that, you are all right. Everyone called that. That's not a big deal. But the ring summoning, I think, is also, like I said, when it was first revealed, like several months ago, I think it's a weird allegory to Ball, because Ball had a quote in its sort of list of abilities that it could summon legions of men. So I think this is also like a weird allegory to Ball, because as far as mythical Zoas have been going so far, they do take some inspiration from the legends that they reside in, but Oda could just give them powers, you know? Like, this goes as far back as Marco. Marco is like both a traditional phoenix, but he's also like the Chinese version of a phoenix. I think it's a Huang Shi or something like that. I cannot pronounce it. But yeah, he's both in a way. So mythical Zoans kind of pull from multiple places is what I'm saying. So the rings are numbered with other numbers besides 5, because in this opening shot we see one that's numbered with 4s around it. In the back it looks like there's one that's numbered with 3s, and then in the very back behind that it looks like one that's numbered with 2s. So I don't know what that means, because now it's like, do those numbers indicate the rank of the 5 elders, or are you just numbering the portals as they come in? And is 5 just the de facto number for Saturn himself? Or is Saturn technically the weakest of the 5 elders? Because 2 things to note. 1, the portals can split from 1, and then they can split into multiples to summon people different places, because they all are summoned from 1 via the portal that is in their sanctuary. And then those portals split into 4 once they touch down on Egghead. So that's something to point out. Another thing is that from the looks of it, Saturn is the smallest, which is super weird. Another thing to point out, and this might make Yamato an awakened Zoan. Everybody but Saturn from the looks of it, because we know how bugs look in One Piece from looking at Black Maria. Spiders have a particular look to them. They're cartoony. You see this too with with scorpions and such from that one video game, One Piece Odyssey. We know, and I think from Star Wars as well, we know what bugs look like in One Piece. Saturn does not look like what you would particularly think of when it comes to a bug face. Even though the Uchioni or the Guki is sort of like a cow spider sort of thing, you would think that there would be no resemblance of his human face left. That's why I'm thinking that he's doing something slightly different than the other 4, because the other 4 are in their full beast forms from the looks of things. Which now, seeing as how they all have the Haragamos, the Shrouds of Mastery, seeing as how all of them have these in their full beast forms, other than Saturn, I'm thinking that, yeah, Yamato probably was awakened, because Yamato too had her Shroud, her Haragamo, in all the forms that she took. She had it in her full wolf form, and she had it in her hybrid form. So she could have been awakened this entire time. It's very possible. It's very, very possible, because she had something very similar around her. And we know that it's not the same for each and every person, because, of course, Luffy's is white. We don't know if they come in multiple colors, but at least in terms of intent, all the evil characters have had their Haragamo shaded in. We have all the 5 elders with their Haragamo shaded in. We have Lucci with his Haragamo shaded in. And then we have Kaku with his Haragamo shaded in. So, like I said in that one Clouds video, the Haragamo color could be based on the intent of the user, or that could just be baked into the fruit. I'm more for the former rather than the latter, but time will tell. So, yeah, I still think that Saturn is doing something similar to the Jailer Beasts, in which he has this sort of weird other alternate version of his hybrid state, because once again, he doesn't look like what you would expect the Yuki or the Ushioni to look like in his full beast form, because he still has his human head with the beard. You would think that would have gone away or something would have happened to it. That's why that's a little sketch. The rest of them, though, perfect. Now, going back to Nusjuro, woo boy! We see him transform as he's cutting down the pacifistas, right? So he has a hybrid form. We know that he has a hybrid form. That's a centaur, much like Jack, which is weird. He has cryokinesis, which he is using to just smite all these pacifista Mark 3s. Bruh. Yes! It's hot. It's hot. Bone King, baby. Bone King. He's amazing. Skulls for the Skull Throne. Man, all those theories over the years and people saying that he was like a bad bro when it came to sword. Oh, the vindication for all those people. I never had a horse in this race. I never had a horse in the race. But man, you are all vindicated. Every last one of you. Claps up for y'all. Because people from old heads from years back have been saying this for a decade now. Probably 2 decades at this point. All y'all are vindicated. This was amazing. Simply amazing. Vindication at its peak. Incredible. So, there are still 7 minutes until the message goes out, so we know that. I like how everyone's looking in awe too as they touch down. That's incredible. So, moving on. Warcree is the Hoki, which is a big boar, which people have been saying that for a while too. Like he was going to either be like a warthog or a hippo. And a Hoki is a monstrous boar from Chinese folklore, famous for terrorizing the countryside. He reminds me, also thanks to the TCB boys for this helpful little trivia guide. Give credit to them. But you know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of that giant pig that Odin slayed during the Wano flashback for him that had the little baby. I think he was the mountain deity or something like that. And he too was terrorizing, I think it was the flower capital, actually. I think he was terrorizing the flower capital. But yeah, the giant boar that got cut in half by Odin and then like stitched back together later. That's what Warcree is reminding me of right now. Also, Warcree does sound like warthog. So that's great. Now, Marcus Mars, which I'm going to butcher this name, is the Itsumade. And the Itsumade is another yokai creature, which is a bird with a human face and a snake-like body, which is what Marcus Mars looks like. I will look this up on my own, and I believe its name actually means until when. So its name is a question, or its cry as a question. So Itsumade actually means until when. And it means, thanks to Wikipedia, basically meaning until when will this corpse be left here. So it's interesting that Marcus Mars and Nusjuro are death related. And the Bakutsu, which is what Nusjuro is a skeletal yokai that is said to be the spirit of a horse that was burned to death. So in being a horse that burned to death, it makes sense that it has sort of cryokinesis abilities. So it has the opposite of what was its demise. So that makes a lot of sense. That makes sense. I can see that. Other things to point out. Zoro just murks Lucci. Murks him right through after being insulted by Sanji, because Jinbei is talking to Sanji on the Denden Mushi, or I guess the egghead communicator. I'm not sure if that's a Denden Mushi or not. And Sanji just says Zoro's being a burden for holding up the group. Zoro gets pissed and uses Spotted Leopard Hahava Hunt on Lucci, and Lucci goes down. Lucci also does a new attack too called Spotted Handgun, which is a Gatling version of the handgun maneuver that he did to severely wound Setomaru at the start of the arc. So that's cool. Now, Hahava in Buddhism is a level of hell that is one of the 8 hells of cold water, forming part of the 16 Usadas, which are the secondary hells situated outside of 8 great hells, according to the World of Transmigration section in the 2nd century. I can't read this word. I'll put it up on screen. Accordingly, in the 3 hells, Arata, Hahava, Hahuva, the damned shiver in the biting cold wind, unable to open their mouths, and these hells are named after the groans which are heard there. So, to make a long story short, Hahava is the groans of people suffering in that section of hell within Buddhism, if I'm understanding this all correctly. I'm sorry, I'm a Westerner, but I'm trying to educate myself. So, please forgive me for any mispronunciations or misunderstandings. But this is cool. This goes in line with Zoro's theme. Zoro's theming has always been rooted in Buddhism and Hinduism, and he wants to be the king of hell. So, yeah, this is on brand. What's also interesting, I don't know what sword this is. This could be Sunai Kitetsu or Enma. During the scuffle, Lucci does disarm Zoro. This is a sword that he slung in the air in Longtown and missed his arm and went to the floor of the sword shop. This could be Sunai Kitetsu, or it could be Enma, because both of them have a sort of flowery looking guard, whereas Wano Ichimonji just has a rounded guard, so we know it's not that. But yeah, he catches Sundai or Enma and then performs Hahava Hunt. So, yeah, Spotted Leopard Hahava Hunt. And that goes with the theming too, because there was another attack that he does called Tiger Hunt, which is upgraded, I believe, into Ultimate Tiger Hunt. I know he did that in a scuffle with Fujitoro during Stampede, the movie. So that's cool. That's cool. Don't know if he does it against Fujitoro in the manga, like during Dressrosa. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But yeah, cool. Lucci goes down. So my Gucci bros who wanted that Lucci stock to soar, Lucci's a fodder. I hope that theory I made about him being the Prince of Alabasta comes true, because he needs to sit down somewhere. Lucci is no longer a threat. Lucci ain't a threat for nobody. If he ain't a threat for Zoro, he sure is not a threat for Sanji. He ain't a threat for nobody. I will say it's annoying that Jinbei's just a babysitter now. I don't care for that at all. But maybe Yamato will save us from Jinbei. I don't know. Oh boy. So, first of all, shout out to Digital Burrow Discord member Minnie, because we see that Sandworm Jupiter burrows into the ground and then pops up to eat Luffy, and Discord member Minnie pointed out that, yeah, Luffy does get eaten a lot. And this is true because Brock and Dory save him from the mouth of Jupiter. But this is also a callback to Little Garden, because back then he was eaten by a Brontosaurus. So, yeah, that he was eaten by Kaido that one time. He was eaten by the giant snake in Skypiea. He's always being eaten by snakes or serpentine things. It's very odd. Serpentine, dragon-esque things. He's always being eaten by those type of animals. Because a sandworm is also referred to as a dragon or a worm. It's always depicted as a dragon or a snake in some depictions. So, I mean, this is on brand. And they cut Jupiter's head off with an attack called Child of the Song Sun. So that's sick. That's sick. Also, I'd like to point out, do y'all recall that this could just be because they were tired or whatever, or malnourished, but I would like to bring something to your attention. Do you all remember that Mr. 3 with the wax fruit could hold down Broggy back in the day? He could hold down Broggy with the wax fruit. Bruh, Cross Guild is no joke. Not only did he do that, he blocked Magellan, that I remember. Blocked Magellan's most powerful attack, the Venom Demon, with a big pallet of wax. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Cross Guild could be next level, because Mr. 3, that could not be a 3 on his head. That could just be a big W. I was on Reddit in the pirate folk section, and they were talking about that. That's true, though. That's true. That's not my original idea. I heard people talk about that in Pirate Folk, and that's actually true, though. I had to stop and think, and I'm like, all right. He did hold them down. Goodness gracious. Oh no, Mr. 3 as well. Mr. W more like it. I can't wait for Galdino stocks to rise, because I would invest in Wax Coin right now, because Wax Coin could be very valuable much later. So, bruh, good chapter, great chapter, excellent chapter. No break next week, which is even better. And I think I covered everything. Man, what a good chapter. But yeah, bruh, Garfield Coin is down. Lucci boys are in shambles. That's all I have for you today. Give me your thoughts. Whew! Good chapter.